nine, all green, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to Rocket Pants episode 7. We are back with Mode B again for the second time in a row, thanks to our scheduling. And with us tonight is game designer, Kickstart winner, creator and destroyer of worlds, Carol Mertz.
Howdy.
Carol, would you like to introduce yourself before our hosts do?
Sure. I mean, you did a pretty good job. I am one of the partners at Happy Badger Studio, which is a game development studio in St. Louis. There's about 5 of us in total, and I do a lot of things. I do some game design depending on what game. I do some narrative design, character design, some animation, all sorts of stuff. And then we also, I do a lot of side project stuff, including voice acting and other various design things. It's when you ask me to introduce myself, I never really know where to start. Do I start with the webcomic or the voice acting, or so?
You're a jill of all trades.
Pretty much, yeah.
Co-host, why don't you guys introduce yourselves, because we have no idea who you are.
Okay. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Jonathan Halley, second co-host, and I still have no idea what's the French equivalent of a badger.
Oh.
Le Badger?
I don't, Le Badger. Ho ho. All my French friends are so pissed at me right now.
My internet instinct is telling me something about a mushroom, but I'm not sure.
And hello, everyone, internet world. I am Chris Swartz, also co-host of Rocket Pants, and I kind of loiter around Twitter and write things periodically and have kids and do all that fun family-friendly stuff on the side.
You periodically have kids?
No, I periodically write stuff and loiter around Twitter. I have kids all the time. There's no getting away from it.
Okay.
I didn't say so before, but I'm Alex, and I will be your host tonight, so sit back and enjoy the ride. Carol, I've been wondering, what games have you been playing lately?
That's a great question, actually. Last night, I just played Sybil by Nina Freeman. She just released it yesterday. It was an hour-long game about falling in love on the internet while playing MMOs. Which was really interesting. There was some FMV stuff in there, which was really cool. And there was it was super nostalgic for high school, because I think a lot of us hung out in chat rooms and played a lot of online games and found, early loves on the internet. And so it was just really weird to re-experience that through someone else's eyes. And then
I found a crush on Yahoo games.
Yeah.
Yahoo
games. AOL games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just want to throw that out there while we're on the subject, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I was all about visual IRC chats. There was this platform called The Palace that I used to hang out on a lot, and I totally I fell for some dude on there that was a really bad idea, but everything turned out better than expected, and that I never talked to him ever after that. Anyway, so then I also just finished Life is Strange on Halloween, which was a really good day to finish it, because it was super, it was really good. I don't know if you guys have played it, but
not yet.
No.
It's pretty intense, and it definitely turned into something that I wasn't expecting, and I don't want to spoil it at all, because it's a super easy to spoil game, but I will say that it was really good, really entertaining.
Did you manage to get to remain spoiler-free during your playthrough?
I did, actually, surprisingly enough. And it came out just before IndieCade, and I went to IndieCade, and I was like, oh god, I'm never going to be able to avoid discussion at IndieCade. And I managed to, so I was really excited to get home and play it. But beyond that, I play a bunch of Destiny on and off with friends. That's kind of my ongoing thing. I've been playing that for the last year.
How long did it take you to get your G-horn?
I got it just before year 1 ended, actually, which was really lame. It was whenever Zur had it, I was just I guess I'll just buy this now, finally.
I guess I'll just buy it. Did you see that website? There was that website for the longest time, and it says, is Zur selling Galahorn? And for the longest time, it just said no. That's all the website said when you
Yeah.
went to it was no. And then when he finally started selling it, the guy didn't update the website,
no.
so it still said no. The one purpose of this website, the guy he missed the
It didn't
mark.
even work. That's so
Right.
sad. Oh. And now it's pathetic. It's not even good anymore because of the year 2
Right.
stuff that they implemented, which is, I haven't
Exactly.
played as much since Taken King came out because it's just like
Right.
frustrating to feel like all of this stuff that I spent like 400 hours on this
Right.
game and I loved all
And
that equipment.
all your stuff is low level, doesn't really matter anymore.
Right,
All the
totally.
stuff that you
It's like
grind
I feel
for.
so icky, like dismantling exotics, so I haven't yet, but they're totally worthless.
Right.
What have you been playing, Chris?
I've actually just been playing more Undertale, and it's so
Oh my
amazing.
Gosh.
I don't know
Oh
what
my-
to say. I actually, Undertale is this experience that you have like a handful of times in video games. It's so good. And I read more about it without reading spoilers because I really don't want to, because I haven't beaten it. I'm on like the final boss, and I'm like under geared or under leveled or something, so I can't really beat him. So I need to go back and kind of grind a little bit more, which the game, you really don't have to grind near it all. But the way that I want to beat the game, I think that I need to go get like some more health potions and that kind of stuff before I have a real shot at beating it. But I was reading up more about some of the mechanics of the game, and like there's multiple endings based on the way that you play through the game, and I thought that you just kind of had the option to go through as like a pacifist and not attack and not fight that much. I didn't really know that it would really influence how the game plays out
Oh, wow.
altogether, but it changes story and things like that. There was one thing that I read that if you decide to be very aggressive and attack and kill every enemy that you encounter, it will actually change the soundtrack of the game. You'll run into fewer NPCs because they're afraid of you. There's a lot of
Wow.
these like crazy mechanics that are going on in the background that I didn't really pick up on because I've only played through it kind of the one time so far. But yeah, Undertale.
So it's a good moral choice system. Like,
So far, it's amazing, yeah, and it's funny too because without spoiling anything, the way you get levels, the way that you progress and stuff, you don't get any experience points if you play through as a pacifist and if you're not attacking anybody. And then you're wondering, why am I not getting experience points? And then right towards the end, they kind of explain that experience points, XP, doesn't stand for experience points, and it actually stands for something else, and it's hilarious, and you should play it.
Wow.
So,
cool.
yeah.
Check it out.
So that's me. So what about you, John? What have you been finagling?
I don't have much to say because last time I talked about a crappy RPG game on my phone that I kind of loved because it was so bad. So took a break, grabbed Final Fantasy VI, and had a blast like always because it's not as perfect as I remember it, but it's a pretty darn good RPG. So
Almost perfect.
not almost perfect. No game's almost perfect.
That's good to.
It's pretty
that's
good.
good to know.
It's all right.
So what platform did you play Final Fantasy VI on? Because don't they have that one on mobile now as well? Or is that just the first three?
No, I played the PlayStation port,
Okay.
which
cool.
is somewhat different, and I guess the soundtrack is a bit hype, but that's about it. It's pretty much the same thing as the Super NES game. The only difference I could notice was I was playing on a PSP, and there is a character that his special attacks are like Street Fighter move combinations that you have to do,
Oh,
and
cool.
the turning, like the traditional like up diagonal right and right, the Hadouken move is super easy to do on a PSP, and I was surprised for that. So that's about it. Alex, what about you? What non-Mario Maker game have you played?
All of them. No, I was playing through Sonic 3 on Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection, and don't get me wrong, this is a great game, but what I really wanted to play is Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is the Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles combined, but it's not possible to do that on Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection. And if you read the Wikipedia, there's a article from the developer that said, yeah, we just we had to choose either the extra games to include or, putting Sonic and Knuckles on this Blu-ray disc. they didn't have time to do both, but it's just a ROM dump, isn't it? You just put the ROM on there.
If you get one copy of the Ultimate Genesis collection and then stick it on top of another copy of that Ultimate Genesis collection, do you think it'll work?
Yeah. No, what you need is the Xbox version and the PlayStation version. You just smash them together, and then boom.
That's definitely how technology works.
And you mash them together in the Wii U, right?
In the Wii U.
With some peanut butter. Just like slap some peanut butter on there just for good measure.
Yes. That usually helps.
To remedy this, I bought another Sonic collection on the original Xbox that does include Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but you have to unlock it, and that made me a little sad because I wanted to play it right away and I did not get to play it. So
you gotta work for it.
Yeah, c'est la vie. And the Xbox's directional pad is not very friendly to platforming, so it'll be a while. Yeah, the original one. Ugh.
Oh, even the 360 one is awful. So
yeah. So needless to say, it'll be a while before I play Sonic 3 and Knuckles. With that, we're gonna move on to Block 2, which is the first part of our casual interview with our special guest.
Oh my!
And Carol, I wanted to start. So we're basically just gonna bombard you with questions, and so get ready.
Cool.
We'll listen to the answers just to be sure.
All right. So first thing that we want to do is to congratulate you on your successful Kickstarter for Pass the Buck. So
I was so
awesome.
excited.
Yeah. Great job, and that
yeah.
looks amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm like
very cool.
I have no idea what I'm doing, and don't include that. No, that's fine. It's really like exciting and like weird to suddenly realize like I'm publishing a card game now.
Right.
So,
add that to your already extensive resume, card game publisher.
Right.
So.
Yeah, totally.
So it's great because you hear so many horror stories recently about Kickstarters just not working and Kickstarters getting funded and then people being just terrible and all this horrible stuff. And Kickstarter is a great platform.
Totally.
And it's really cool to see these success stories like yours where it's like a very small, kind of one small team person. And you're able to go and put out a product and really, communicate with your fans and, give them, good measurable updates and stretch goals and stuff like that. And you attained it and you kicked ass. So good job.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that like every single backer gets exactly what they hope for, if not more. Hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah. So what's the next steps? So, I mean, I'm sure you're still probably, just kind of reveling in the excitement of the whole funding thing. So what do you do now after the Kickstarter's done? So
yeah, I didn't really have much time to revel because immediately after the Kickstarter was over, I started trying to prep all the cards for print because what I'm really trying to hit some serious deadlines. Like the Kickstarter says estimated shipping date of May, and that was conservative. But at the same time, right now, the printer, I'm going through Ad Magic, which is the same company that printed Cards Against Humanity and Exploding Kittens. But they're like super duper overwhelmed right now with holiday printing stuff. And so they were saying that it might take an especially long time to get the prints done after they've been approved. So first I have to submit them for approval and all this stuff. So it's a long story and it's really, really boring, but ultimately, I'm trying to submit the cards ASAP, so that means I've been in touch with all of the co-writer backers to try to get, the final new tasks, because we opened up 12, task cards to be written by backers who wanted to just, throw enough money at me and help support the game, a little bit more than
right.
other folks might. So I'm just trying to finalize those right now so that I can get all of the files to the printer. But hopefully I can do that before the end of the month, which would be amazing.
How did the idea come up? Did you have horrible large office experience?
Well, yeah. So actually my first backers only update kind of touched on it a little bit. I have owned a small business for about 6 years now. And in the process of small business ownership, you do wind up dealing a lot with corporate companies that are bigger than you and think that they can push you around. And so I've just spent a lot of time working with various corporate employees in various capacities for various reasons. And there was a moment 2 years ago when I just got really, really fed up with one particular person CCing all kinds of other people on an email saying, that's not my department, that's these
Yeah.
people's jobs. And it's like, that's never going to get done now. So I finally made a passive-aggressive Facebook joke that I was going to start working on a game called Pass the Buck, a game of corporate responsibility management. And then I was like, no, seriously, I'm going to make this game. And so I did. I turned it into a system, and I, essentially wrote a rule set for the card game within a couple of days after I made that joke, and started prototyping it on index cards within the week. And it was just like, it kind of all fell together, which was really fun. It was really cathartic
Okay,
at the time, because I was like, this sucks.
I saw the demo video and everything, like, most of the things you mentioned, I worked for 2-3 big companies in my career, and it really hits home. It's pretty much, and even the CCing, like the people that CC the whole planet, just to make sure they're covered, and they let everybody know on the first email they see from that person that you're the enemy and you're the person who should be shut down. Yeah, that hits home. So good job on that.
Thank you. I tried to capture as much of it as I possibly could while still being fun. Like, that was the challenge, is like, how do we make this awful feeling into a fun experience? So it kind of worked, I think. I think it worked pretty well, actually. It's I'm not sick of playing it yet, and I've been playing it for 2 years, so that's good.
That's cool.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Your background, as far as I know, is game development, right?
It's actually
Somewhat.
web development primarily. Like, my original background was in web, and like for the past few years, games. Yes.
That wasn't. Well, my question will
Did
still
I
apply.
derail you?
A little bit.
Sorry.
Well, you work with a game development company, and I want to know what you've learned from working with them that has been helpful in making the card game.
Oh, sure.
And what you've learned in the card game that will be helpful in games going forward and other projects.
Sure. So, to give you a little bit of background, like I said, my background is in web. I went to school kind of for animation and also web, and when we first started our company 6 years ago, it was for web, and then we decided we just wanted to start making games. So, like, I hesitate to say that I have a background in games, other than just like starting to make them, having no idea what we were doing, like 4 years ago. So yes, from that capacity, my background is in games. Anyway, that has definitely informed how, like, video game development for the past few years has definitely informed how I worked on the card game. And the card game has definitely informed how I've started looking at video games. I think that there's a really interesting intersection between video games and tabletop games that I think has a lot of room to still be explored. Like, in my tabletop game in Pass the Buck, I actually implement a leveling system that is informed by video game levels. Ooh. So, like, you start out at level 1, and it's really, really easy to get to level 2, and it's slightly easy to get to level 3, but once you're level 3, it starts getting really challenging to get to level 4, and then the final level is level 5, and that's really difficult to get to. And I think it kind of provides that same experience of, like, oh, this is really exciting, and then it's like, oh, this is really frustrating, but that's kind of the feeling that I want to give players, because it's just like being in corporate America. So that, I think that was a huge, source of inspiration for especially that system in the game. And I also really, like, I was really excited to work on the tabletop game, because with video games, you kind of find yourself working inside of this box, specifically a screen. And you start feeling like your design choices are limited to what you can do digitally and what you can do within a screen, what you can do even in multiplayer. Like, it's still a very individualized experience, right? So, like, you're just staring at your one screen, and even if it's local multiplayer, everybody's just looking at the screen. They're not really looking at each other. They're not really interacting together that much. And so I was really excited to explore the idea of my favorite aspect of tabletop games, which is human interaction. Like, you play a game of D&D, and you can't help but, befriend everybody at the table, regardless of whether or not you knew them coming into the game. And that's something that I really wanted to implement that I hadn't been able to yet in video games. And now that I've done that and, like, created a game that forces human interaction and forces kind of like that element of figuring out, the psychology behind players' responses and players' choices, I'm starting to kind of wonder how I can start implementing that into video game designs as well, which I haven't figured out the best way to start working on something yet, but I'm hoping eventually to bring that in a little bit more.
The challenge is getting people to look away from the screen.
Right. And I mean, there are games that do that to an extent, I'm sure, but I think it could be implemented more so, because there's a reason why so many of us, especially in this generation, are so drawn to the idea of board game nights and tabletop nights. Suddenly it gives us like a social interaction that we don't get in MMOs and, you know, at video game nights. So if we can figure that out, I think we'll have a really happy medium.
And even the closest thing you can get to like participation in video games is probably in some people streaming games that include a player, like which one was I thinking about, like XCOM, or even that. But it's still not the same feeling that you get with a board game or card game, I guess.
So what I was saying was that there are some games that are starting to bridge the gap between the digital sphere and the and actually the realm of tabletop games. Like the big one on Steam recently is Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Right, yeah.
So that looks really cool. I've yet to try it, but it's something like one person is actually on the computer trying to defuse the bomb, and other people are sitting around them with a paper manual kind of going through the steps on how to defuse it. So I am actually really looking forward to those types of experiences as as developers start to learn how to kind of get into my actual living room instead of just into my computer, into my TV.
Right. I've seen Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes at conventions several times, and there's always a huge line because it's such a draw. It's so interesting. And so I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet, but I cannot wait to finally get my hands on it because it looks so compelling.
Chris, do you really want developers coming into your living room?
Philosophically.
Yeah, why not?
No, I was wondering, what about the games Happy Badger Studio made? I think The Box is a kind of multiplayer game.
Yeah, Box was a game that we made for Molly Jam, which is a game jam based on Peter Molyneux's quotes. And so I don't remember the specific quote, but we wound up making this game where you kind of had to decide whether or not you wanted to pass a mystery box onto the next person with a new note that you would let them read, or you could open it and get whatever was inside and read the note. And so we, the sooner you opened the box, the crappier the gift was that was inside. And so you wanted to, collect all the best stuff, so you had to keep passing the box to make sure that the thing inside could level up. But then, if you kept passing it and somebody else opened it, then it wouldn't come back to you. So it was just a really interesting kind of experiment of human behavior. And it only, survived because it's online multiplayer, but not very many people knew about it. So it only survived for about a week of us and our friends playing it, and some other people who found out through, social media and stuff. It was really interesting. It was really fun. Most people wound up with old banana peels and baby diapers. And there were some really awful notes that were left behind that were just horrendous and just the worst part of human behavior experimentation. But I think it was a really great idea. I think the concept was pretty solid and interesting.
It really sounds Peter Molyneux-esque, I guess.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Yeah, I think maybe it was the original one was based on Peter Molyneux quotes, and the second one was based on Peter Molyneux quotes. But yeah, it was, they were all weird games that were wonderful, so.
Is it bad I get Peter Molyneux and Gary Gygax mixed up?
Yeah, it's bad. Come on.
It's the X. That's what gets me mixed up.
A simple X screws you up. And
Gary Gygax, by the way, has the coolest name in the entire world. That Gygax is the coolest last name that you could possibly have.
Do you remember when he was on The Simpsons? He was on one episode, and he said, "Hi, I'm Gary Gygax." And he rolls a dice, and whatever lands, and he says, "It's nice to meet you." After he rolls the dice.
That's amazing.
It was great.
Very cool.
So, yeah, tangents.
Yeah, well, it's always cool to talk about rolling dice and natural ones.
Gary Gygax.
I feel like I've just rolled a natural one with this interview. No, I'm just kidding. My entire life is a natural one. Did that really go over your head? You're the one talking about Gary Gygax.
I played. I know him from The Simpsons. I've played Dungeons and Dragons once,
Really?
and I've played Pathfinder once.
I've
We
never
should-
played it.
Yeah.
We should figure out. We should play Dungeons and Dragons sometimes. I've seen people do it over Hangouts. It's pretty
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
There's like the D20 little tool in Hangouts that you could use. So we should do that sometime.
I think Happy Badger Studios should make an online Dungeon and Dragon-esque game.
Hmm.
See, here's my problem. I don't want to take the focus away from Carol because she's our guest.
Oh, whatever.
Here's my thing with Dungeons and Dragons: is not goofy enough. I want to like
You
the
can
last
get
time I
goofy.
played.
It's as goofy as you want it to be.
Yeah, you're playing with the wrong people.
Yeah.
I wanted to play as Gandalf the Grey,
Do
pretty
it.
much.
Why not?
I wanted to make a item. I wanted to make my own item. They wouldn't let me make it. That's basically a Lazarus pit from Batman inside of Kuribo's shoe. So you could, from Mario. So you could just hop around in it and constantly get regenerated.
Yeah, I mean, why
And
not?
They wouldn't.
You should write your own, like,
Make your own
RPG,
campaign.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
make a campaign that's like, it's based off of crappy Mario and Batman references.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I played a really amazing campaign
Ow.
at IndieCade. No, I'm sorry. At IndieCade, there was
It's okay.
a game there called A Red and Pleasant Land by a tabletop designer named Zach Smith, and it was essentially it's I forget how you would put it, but it's essentially you could play it on top of any kind of D&D, and it's just a story that is based on Alice in Wonderland, but way creepier. And there's actually a new kind of character class called the Alice, which has really cool special abilities. She's just kind of like a weird thief with really great luck and the ability to just do weird random stuff. So that was like one of
Cool.
the coolest tabletop experiences I've ever had. Just because I
Yeah.
really like Alice
Okay,
in
we'll
Wonderland.
definitely have to get into it then.
Yeah.
I found that as I get older, I actually have been getting into tabletop stuff more often. Like, I still totally love my video games and will play my video games until I die, probably, but I find myself wanting to have those experiences with other people. Even local multiplayer on a video game is kind of limiting unless you're doing something just so over the top like Mario Party or something. Then you
Yeah.
can have some of those experiences.
Or
But if you're just doing like a... Or Smugglecraft, which we are
Yeah,
going to...
that's a good segue.
That is a good segue. I like what you did there. So,
Carol, do you know Eric Bailey, perchance?
I don't think I do. Who's that?
He's a man known for his segues.
Oh. It's not Gary Gygax.
Not Gary Gygax.
Well, what I was going to say really quick, while we're still on the topic of tabletop games, is I actually had a realization like a month ago that our generation is going to play Dungeons and Dragons the way the current generation plays poker and bridge, which I think is really exciting because it makes me want to retire like right now and just play D&D all day long.
yeah, totally.
So, I got to take out my dentures and put in my vampire teeth.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know.
Let me whip out my miniatures.
I will totally play some Vampire the Masquerade.
That reminds me of
Smugglecraft?
No, I went to a private college for college, and it was a non-smoking campus. But every year there would be a convention of old people, and they would smoke and play poker on campus. Like smoke,
Nice.
I think sometimes inside the dorms, and nobody would say anything because they were the top donors.
Yeah,
So-
they're like wealthy people, and nobody wants to piss off the wealthy people.
So-
Would you say they smuggle their cigar to practice their craft?
Ah ha ha ha.
Heyo.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Smugglecraft.
Cool. There's a lot that can be said about
just-
Smugglecraft. So.
Yeah. Well, just a little peek before we get into the first game show, because this is only the part 1 of 2 of our interview.
Oh jeez.
How about Carol? You introduce Smugglecraft, and then we do some of our fun game show stuff, and then when we are finished with that, we will maybe dive in and kind of quiz you about Smugglecraft and question you and all that good stuff. Interrogate
Okay,
you.
sounds good. Yeah. Oh god.
Cool.
All right. Now I'm nervous.
Yeah, give us the Reader's Digest.
All right. So Smugglecraft is a quest-based hovercraft racing game with randomly generated tracks where you play a smuggler in the world on a cusp of political revolution. And so the decisions that you make and the people who you help and the quests that you take on kind of impact the world around you in such a way that it'll provide power to different kinds of people, and it'll kind of switch up what kind of key quests you get presented with and things like that. So it's really cool. It's a lot of fun to play. There's both single player and multiplayer, local and online. And it's going to be coming out next year for PlayStation 4 and Steam for PC, Mac, and Linux. And we are actually, I don't know that we've announced this publicly yet, but I am officially doing so now. We're going to be at the PlayStation Experience in San Francisco the first weekend of December, showing it there, which we're really excited about.
Oh, great.
Whoa.
Awesome.
You
Congrats.
guys heard it first on Rocket Pants.
All 20 of you.
Rocket Pants exclusive.
If we haven't already, announced it before airs, but yeah. Like, it's going to be our biggest show by far. Like, the biggest show that we've ever done so far is PopCon, actually. And so this is going to be, I think, about that size or bigger. I don't know. It's kind of nerve-wracking now.
Now that you've played your game, now that you've introduced your game, are you ready to play our game for the chance to win a game? How many times can I say game?
I could win things?
You can win
win
things.
Oh my gosh.
You may already be the winner of a Steam key.
We're going to send you a copy of Smugglecraft.
Oh, neat.
That's not true.
No.
You're going to have to give us a copy of Smugglecraft before,
Yeah,
because we don't have one.
did you guys time travel?
No, I'm kidding.
I mean, Alex does have the time travel license plate on the wall. I don't know if he actually has the DeLorean or not. So anyway, just made shit real awkward.
No, it's just that I didn't get the reference when he joined the call. So so he's just happy, I guess, that someone got it.
I get it. I'm a geek.
Okay, Carol, you're a part of a great team at Happy Badger Studio.
Yeah.
You guys have built a cool game centered around a hovercraft, or at least hovercraft-like things. So I was wondering what your knowledge of hovercrafts are in other video games. I'll give you a brief description of the use of the hovercraft in each particular game, as well as of the game itself. You must name the game.
Okay.
Good luck.
Okay.
And by the way, the name of the game is My Hovercraft is Full of Eels. Question 1. In this sleeper hit, you play as a female protagonist who must stealthily
Beyond Good and
sneak
Evil.
through levels.
Is that Beyond Good and Evil?
It is!
What? How did you do that?
Female protagonist. There's not that many of those with hovercrafts. Come on. Smugglecraft and Beyond Good and Evil. That's it.
Very good. Wow.
Question 2. In this simian platformer, you use a hovercraft to get from one world to another, and also discover secrets on the overworld. Well, I guess it isn't a hovercraft at first, but it definitely is there once you purchase it.
Is it Donkey Kong?
Yes?
It is? Donkey Kong Country?
Which one?
Is it Donkey Kong 64?
No.
Which one has a hovercraft?
How does Donkey Kong have a hovercraft? He doesn't even have clothes.
It's like in the overworld, I think. What is it? Because Donkey Kong 1 was just Diddy and Donkey. Was it one of the Super Nintendo ones?
Yes.
Okay, so Donkey Kong 2 had the girl, Dixie? No, Dixie is the babe, right?
Yep.
Yeah, she's a total babe.
Total babe.
The baboon babe. Would it have been, and then the third one was one with the awful baby. The awful baby man.
Kitty Kong.
Kitty Kong. No, Candy Kong was the babe. It was Dixie Kong was the little girl with the ponytails. Was it that one?
Yeah.
Was Donkey Kong 2?
No, it was 3, but
It was 3?
I'm going to give it to you because
Okay.
you said...
Because you can just rattle off all the Donkey Kong characters.
I know all of the. I played the hell out of Donkey Kong as a kid. I was like very.
Just to be sure, it's another game with a female protagonist in Hovercraft. So there are many
No.
of them. I guess there are 2.
There's,
Well,
I think.
this one is not a... this one's not a sleeper hit.
well, Donkey Kong 3. I mean, it wasn't exactly a rousing success, was it?
It was the worst on the platform, but that's
I liked
debatable.
it.
It was. I mean, it was the baby.
Question number 3. While the shelled and masked protagonists ride hoverboards in the sewer level of this game, the boss sports a sweet hovercraft.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I don't know which one.
The only one for Super Nintendo.
Oh God, I didn't play any of the TMNT games for console. I just played arcade stuff. Is it Turtles in Time?
Yes!
It was Turtles in Time? Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Oh my god, I'm so good at this.
For extra credibility, do you know the name of the boss?
Oh man, I don't even know that.
Like I said, I didn't play it, so it would have been Shredder or Krang or, what are the... Bebop and Rocksteady.
Those are the only ones that matter.
It's the Rat King.
The Rat King? Really?
The Rat King?
Yeah. With the rousing success, we're going to move on to our music break. So we'll see you guys in a few minutes. That was Like a Damn Fiddle, which is a remix of the Victory song from Metal Gear Solid 4 by Brandon Strader. And side note, that is one of my favorite songs from one of my favorite games. And with that, we're going to move into Block 3, which is our interview part 2. And our numbering system is more confusing than the Rambo sequels.
I've lost track completely.
As long as you don't lose your track, it's going to be fine.
So what's this delete button here then?
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind Hovercraft? I mean Smugglecraft.
Smugglecraft. So the original impetus for Smugglecraft actually it was it's the core designer is my business partner Ben. And he was just coming up with a bunch of different game ideas and decided he wanted to create a randomly generated racer because we are all sick of circuit racers where like everybody who you play against has the entire track memorized, and if you are a new player coming in, you have absolutely no chance against whoever has completely memorized all of the shortcuts and every single, turn in the entire circuit. And we wanted it to just feel a lot more kind of intense and just less predictable. And so we started kind of brainstorming ways that we could implement that into like a fun game. And so we were originally talking about kind of telling the story of bootleggers like back in, Prohibition era. And that was what wound up leading us to smugglers. And so we came up with Smugglecraft, where we're kind of talking more along the lines of a sci-fi smuggler, along the lines of Han Solo type stuff.
Very cool.
So you are essentially a smuggler just taking quests just to pay off your debt. So you have this debt because you needed to buy a hovercraft so that you wouldn't have to get sucked into like the labor camps in the world. It's very intense. It's very sad. And so like that's just essentially how you're surviving in this world. And that's where it kind of started and has progressed also.
Awesome.
But yeah, so really we just wanted to make sure that we made a fun feeling racing game that was not predictable and had an interesting storyline that wasn't just like, hey, you're in a race now, go race stuff and other people, because that's what people want to be motivated with. So we wanted it to have a lot more of a kind of like historically themed story. So that's where that kind of came from. Like one of the core aspects of it is that there's like a branching narrative that starts getting kind of historically inspired as far as like, Revolutionary warfare and things like that.
You don't see many of those, so you don't.
Yeah.
Usually, when it's racers, it's very straightforward. Get a gold medal and you beat the game. Whereas,
right.
So it's kind of cool. You're trying to blend in some of those more traditionally RPG maybe style elements into that genre. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it easier to do this since you have procedurally generated tracks?
What do you mean?
Like you don't have to choose between two specific tracks, so it's easier to branch, I guess?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have the tracks generating based on difficulty and risk. So, difficulty is based on how hard each track piece is. So, the tracks are kind of pieced together like puzzles. So, we have little micro pieces that each one has we run them through analytics. So each one has a length of time associated with it and a difficulty level associated with it. And based on the difficulty of the track, it puts in a certain number of a certain kind of piece, which is all very mathematical and scientific. But ultimately, it means that you're getting the right track for you, but that it's always going to be a different experience. And so, yeah, that being said, it is a little bit easier to kind of plan for that because we don't have to say, this is going to be this specific race because we don't know what specific race that's going to be yet because the story might branch. So yeah, right. I think that's kind of made it nice as for me as the narrative designer to not have to worry about working too intimately on level design with the narrative. I can kind of work on the narrative independently and know that the level is going to keep up.
Great. Cool.
And you were talking in the break about the games you researched for the basic physics, I guess, of the Hovercraft.
For game feel, yeah. Game feel was really important to us when we were coming into it because we knew, you can't make a racing game that just feels bad. If you do that, then nobody's going to want to play it. And so we wanted to kind of look at some of our favorite racing games, specifically hovercraft racing games throughout, game history. And so we spent a lot of time playing stuff like Pod Racer and F-Zero and Wave Race, or Wave Runner. And I actually played a bunch of Beyond Good and Evil, which is why I got that question so quickly, just to kind of get an idea for, both how they implement story. Because like Beyond Good and Evil was also research for narrative, just to kind of get an idea for sort of like this post-apocalyptic female protagonist, sleeper hit, how did they implement the hovercraft in that, and how did the hovercraft feel? But then everything else, stuff like Pod Racer was a huge inspiration for game feel, and so actually was the Destiny Sparrow, because most of us were playing Destiny at that point, and we just loved the feel of that little hovercraft, and so we wanted to make sure that we pulled the best from the best, essentially.
Did that also influence the graphics, like Pod Racer? It seems to have like a PS1 or some kind of early 3D rendering graphics.
The low poly, sort of low fidelity kind of graphic style. It was somewhat inspired, I guess, by some of those older games. Mostly it was inspired by when we were researching different art styles that were both feasible for a small team to accomplish, and also we liked the look and feel of. We came upon these kind of low poly renderings that we wound up getting really enamored with, and saving a whole bunch of inspiration images. And that was the core inspiration behind the look and feel, more so than PS1 type stuff. But we just found that it felt really natural to a lot of players because it did feel so nostalgic in that way.
Yeah.
But I can't say that, those older games were the look and feel inspiration so much as just researching, like low poly art styles.
I love that style too.
Thank you.
I'm not saying that it looks identical or anything by any means, because I love yours has definitely got a unique feel to it, but it does kind of remind me of another game that'll be released on PlayStation 4 maybe eventually, but No Man's Sky.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost got that same aesthetic, so that I like that kind of almost retro inspired low poly, doesn't rely so heavily on the shaders and stuff like that. It's really nice. I really dig it.
There's a bunch of games that I've noticed that are, either out or coming out with a similar style. And I think it's just because it's very accessible and it makes it quicker. I mean, like, you don't have to spend so much time texturing and going in and adding tons of stuff. And it works really well for a small team, because that means you can get these models made much more quickly, and they still have their own unique aesthetic. But stuff like Grow Home just came out. That's I think that was an Ubisoft game. And then there's I've just seen, like, at IndieCade, there's a bunch of really nice looking low fidelity games that are going to be coming out soon. So
it allows you as a small team to have a highly polished, good looking product, but it allows you to spend more time on the gameplay and the mechanics and the story, which really, I mean, you could have amazing visuals, but if you don't have the gameplay to back it up, those visuals don't matter.
Right, exactly. And we can make more visuals, more track pieces, more, like more environments, just because it takes, less time than if we wanted to make something completely photorealistic.
So I dig that. Now, going back to the inspiration, so I get that you played a lot of games, so Beyond Good and Evil, Pod Racer, things like that. If we look at, different types of media, so outside of the gaming sphere, what, were there books or movies or any of those kind of experiences that helped to influence it?
I researched so much. Like I mentioned, it's kind of based on, like, kind of that fine line just prior to political revolution. And so I researched so much historical revolutionary stories. So I researched a lot about, like, the Cuban Revolution. I researched a lot about what's going on in North Korea. I researched a lot about what was happening in Pakistan. And I've just got these books. Like, I have this one that's called A Brief History of Revolutions, and another one that's called The Anatomy of a Revolution. And, like, so I've just been reading through a lot of these things. It's just very much trying to make sure that I'm pulling from some of the more interesting aspects of history to make sure that it feels like it could happen, like it, like that there's actually some basis for reality in it. But I'm also pulling, the interesting aspects more so than the less interesting aspects. So it's not necessarily completely historically accurate in any capacity, but
sure, just inspired.
Yeah, certainly. Drawing lead character ideas and drawing kind of plotline ideas and quest ideas and stuff from that.
Great.
For sure.
I hope your friends weren't too scared of you reading a ton of Revolution books.
Yeah, like I'll find myself, like, in a coffee shop, like, with a cup of coffee and, like, A Brief History of Political Revolutions, and I'm wondering, like, what do people think of me, like, right now?
The key is you just don't let the Tsar know about the revolution,
right.
And then you'll be okay.
Yeah, it's like I know so much about, like, Cuban history at this point. It's really funny that, like, my friends are just like, why do you keep talking about Fidel Castro? It's like, an interesting story.
And you guys can't even go there.
I
Or
know,
can you
right?
now?
No, well,
soon.
it's really, really regulated, but
Yeah. You can, you just have to have, like, a reason.
yeah.
Maybe she just likes the cigars. Right? That's why she's reading up on
Fidel.
Cuba so much. On Fidel, yeah.
I actually had another question. So I have over the past couple week or two, I've been playing some of the other Happy Badger games that are available on Android. And
Yeah.
by the way, the Kitten Pop game is
Cosmic Kitty
amazing.
Pop. Oh, thank you
Yeah.
so much. That was one of my pet projects.
Okay, so I've been able to get up to 150, I think. That's about
good.
it.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Okay, so it's just so simple, but it's so good. So, but going
you.
from something like that where it's a great game, but it is a bit more, it's definitely not as advanced as
Simple,
something
yeah.
like Smugglecraft.
Yeah.
So, what does that look like? How does your studio go from developing mobile game or,
Right.
more, simplistic mobile games to something as involved and 3D and complicated as Smugglecraft?
It was a big decision for us. I mean, Smugglecraft is our first console title. We tried to work on a PC title before called Something Fragile, which started out as a game jam game. We wanted to pursue it, but we wound up, realizing that it was more than we could chew at the time because we were just starting out as a studio at that point and had very little experience. So we decided to put a lot more of our time into these smaller games. That idea of fail fast, fail often, and learn. And it worked out really well for us because, like I said, Cosmic Kitty Pop was my pet project. I was the lead designer and developer and artist on that one. And then there were other games that, like The Flip, my partner Ben was the lead designer and developer on it, and my partner Dana was the lead artist. Cupcake Carnage, Dana and I worked together on, and then Strange Donuts versus the World was one of our first whole team games. So
I like that one too.
Yeah, it's a really good one, and that's actually really popular here in St. Louis because Strange Donuts is an actual donut shop that we work together with, and so it's kind of funny because it works on its own. But, with the donut shop and the popularity of the donut shop, people get really excited about it. But yeah, so working, in that sort of progression of just we're going to start small, we're going to teach ourselves using these small things, and just kind of get the fundamentals of game design and game development under our belts before we start taking on something huge. We realized after the release of both Strange Donuts and Cosmic Kitty Pop, we were just ready for something much larger. And we really wanted to foray toward consoles as opposed to mobile because we were getting tired of how saturated the mobile market was and how few downloads we wound up getting and how few eyes we wound up getting. We felt like we can apply our knowledge to something that actually matters a little bit more in the scheme of, games in general. So yeah, that was kind of, again, one of the core inspirations behind wanting to come up with an idea that was a little bit bigger. And originally we actually only wanted to put in 3 or 4 months of development into it, which have so far turned into a year and will probably wind up being about a year and a half or so. But yeah, it's been really exciting because it's brought the team a lot closer together. We actually brought on another team member since starting the game, and it's just, it's given us the opportunities to collaborate with really amazing people and really push our ideas as far as we feel like we can. We're working with the sound designer named Eduardo Ortiz Frau, and he's worked on some really amazing games like Neverending Nightmares and The Stanley Parable and Gorgoa, and so he's done sound design for all of these great games, and he's a friend of ours, and we're like, you can do sound design for our game now, because it's it's a console title, it's really, and so the sound effects are amazing, and so it's stuff like that, it's collaborations like that get us really excited and make us feel like this is a really cool space to be in right now and be able to actually feel like we can invest in that.
So why PlayStation? So versus, because obviously if you decide you're going to build a console game, you probably don't go into it just assuming I'm going to make a PlayStation game. You probably just say I'm going to make a console game. So
Right.
why do you gravitate toward PlayStation versus Wii U or Xbox or what have you?
Yeah, so it's a really
Or the
interesting
NX.
story. Yeah, there was actually the precise moment in time when we decided to be PlayStation exclusive, basically. and that was at Indiecade East. I was speaking at Indiecade East this past year and wound up just kind of finding my way into the PlayStation talk. And it was just kind of like, PlayStation for indie developers, come see what it's like. And I had no idea what to expect. We knew that we wanted to work on the console game, and so we were thinking, like, we'll just do, cross-platform. It's just going to be everything. I wound up wandering into the PlayStation talk, and it was Nick Sutner, who is a PlayStation rep, and another one of the guys who works at PlayStation, and then Rami Ismail from Vlambeer, and another indie developer. And I was already like, wow, they're putting indie developers on this panel to talk about games, like respectable indie developers. So there must be something here. And they wound up letting the developers talk more about the process to develop and publish to PlayStation than the PlayStation reps talked. And like, I thought that showed such an amazing level of respect for indie developers to even let them say, working with Sony 5 years ago sucked. Like, they said that on stage. And like, the Sony reps didn't say anything, like they were like, yeah, we know, like it wasn't fun back then, but it's changed. And like the level of respect that they have for developers has just become so admirable and so welcoming. So when we finally and then I went to go see like the Nintendo talk, and that was when I was like, okay, we're going to be PlayStation exclusive. Like, no offense to Nintendo. I grew up with Nintendo and I really love them, but their talk just didn't connect with the indie in me the way that the Sony talk connected with the indie in me. It was way more focused on like numbers, like this is how much we've made on first party titles. It's like, I don't care about your first party titles, and I don't care about money. I care about how easy it's going to be to work with you. So we wound up setting up an appointment with Sony at the Game Developers Conference, GDC, and talked briefly with them for a little while. Just said, is this something that you'd be interested in working with us for? And they're just like, sign up for an account and we'll get rolling. And it was just that easy. I mean, like,
wow.
Yeah. And we were just like, this is amazing. They respect us so much. They're so open to like helping us. They let us post an announcement blog article on the Sony blog. They posted our trailer on the PlayStation YouTube. Like, it's just
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that. That was a big deal. I was like, wow, this is professional.
Yeah. We were just like, we've been blown away at how open they are to supporting us and how, friendly they are. Like I said, they're bringing us out to PSX to show the game there. It's like, they're really, I mean, I think this is something that they do for a lot of their devs, but I think that shows how much they respect and appreciate independent games and unique games, things that, push the boundaries of what games are and can be. So that's
and
why
they had a couple of success stories too. I guess beforehand. That I guess that's how they learned. Because if I remember well, Thomas Was Alone was pushed by PlayStation a lot. So that's because I didn't play many.
PlayStation's doing a really great job lately.
Yeah.
So kind of to your point, Carol. I know last generation with the 360 and the PS3, if to patch your game on the 360, the developer had to pay for it. Like pay to patch their own game if you just shipped a broken game. I don't know if that's the case anymore, but I know that would have definitely kept you away from.
Yeah, it's prohibitive. I mean, formerly,
do they still make you pay to patch?
I have no idea. I haven't.
I would hope not.
To be honest, I haven't done a lot of research of what it takes to be a Microsoft developer. The 360 is one of my beloveds. Like, I play the 360 fairly often. That's what I was playing Life is Strange on. But I've heard enough stories that they're going to have to do some serious cleanup to make me want to become a Xbox developer, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. I mean, like, the quintessential case was Konami wouldn't pay to patch their own game.
Right.
Like, Konami wouldn't pay.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard just loads of...
They wouldn't made a pachinko machine instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. They wouldn't patch their game, so nobody bought the Silent Hill collection, so now they're making pachinko machines. That's the story.
So that's I've seen that with PlayStation. I used to be such a hardcore Microsoft Xbox guy, but I have yet to actually jump on the latest generation. I haven't gotten a One or a PS4 yet, so I've actually been leaning toward the PS4 based on all the indies that I see on the console. Like No Man's Sky looks great. Home Free looks really cool with the dog game. There's just so many like indies and new
I mean,
ideas that are coming
Unfinished
out.
Swan.
So.
What
Smugglecraft
Remains of
is
Edith
coming for
Finch.
PS4.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's so many good things coming out of both the Sony partner developers, like Giant Sparrow, and also just complete indies like we are. Like, there's so many good games, and it's just I feel so excited to be a part of that. And, like, the PS4, I've never been a Sony console player. I have a PS2, and I got that way after, you know, like, anybody actually played PS2. And skipped the PS3 entirely. Yeah.
Do you not own a PS4 currently?
I do own a PS4. Yeah, I skipped straight to PS4.
Okay.
The PS4 has become one of my favorite consoles. Like, we got them after we decided to be Sony developers. We're like, well, we should see what the whole fuss is about. And we got the PS4s, and, like, I seriously, like, I've pumped hundreds and hundreds of hours into it between, you know, not just Destiny, but all of the amazing indie games that are available on it. And, like, the PSN, like, the free games with PS Plus is, like, great, because it's 4 or 5 games a month, and a lot of them are indies. A lot of them are games that you'd want to play anyway.
Right. You're already paying for it to play Destiny online, so you may as well.
Exactly. That is exactly why I have PS Plus. I think my cat's joined us. Come here, Dinah.
Has it been pretty easy developing for Steam and cross-platform with them? I remember you said that you guys develop in, was it Unity?
Yeah, we do develop in
or
Unity.
something like that?
Yeah. And we actually, to be honest, we haven't done a lot of experimentation with putting it up on Steam yet. We got greenlit a few months ago and have been just focusing on developing for PS4 primarily still. But we don't foresee too much issue. Like, we've been exporting it to both Mac and Windows on the regular, just for testing purposes and stuff. But I do know that, you know, based on friends who've published to Steam, there are some hoops that we'll have to jump through in order to make it totally compatible with achievements and things like that. But I'm confident that we'll get it solid.
Cool.
Speaking of learning from friends, I hear you're pretty active in the local scene for the indie development.
Pretty
with
active.
Some game jams and...
I actually help operate the local game development organization. So I was one of the co-founders of the St. Louis Game Developer Co-op, and we are just essentially a nonprofit organization that provides, like, support, resources, and events for game devs in the city. And it's just an amazing community that we have here. We don't have too many AAA studios. The biggest AAA studio that we have is Riot, and it's a smaller studio where they do sort of like the back end stuff for League of Legends, like the server side stuff. And then we have a bunch of, like, small to medium sized indie studios, which is amazing. And there's a lot of growth there right now. And there's some really cool games that are getting ready to come out. Like Hive Jump from Graphite Lab has been featured by Nintendo at a bunch of events lately. And Crashlands by Butterscotch Shenanigans. I think, Alex, you probably got to play at PopCon, or at least got to see. But it's going to be massive.
So many games there.
Yeah. It's going to be, like, a really, really cool. It's like a Don't Starve style, like, huge open world sort of game. And, like, the development story behind it is just really, really amazing. But I definitely recommend checking out Butterscotch Shenanigans when you have the chance. And there's
nothing for the name alone.
Right, exactly. And the guys, it's 3 brothers, and they're just some of the best, like, just most hilarious and wonderful people you'll ever meet. They've got stories about the game and, like, Polygon and all kinds of stuff. So definitely check them out. Beyond that, I mean, there's all kinds of cool stuff. There's a visual novelist at Woodsy Studio, and she does all kinds of these really great branching novel type things.
You hear that, John? You hear that, John?
Yeah.
You like
We have our
visual
own
novels?
aspiring visual novelist.
Oh,
No,
cool.
I just picked up the visual novel maker. I think that was in one of the latest Humble bundles, and
Oh, cool.
I'm gonna make a Rocket Pants dating sim someday.
Awesome.
Just you watch.
That's cool. I believe in you. You can do it.
I should make it. Probably.
I got a question.
Yo.
Of all of your projects and all of your endeavors through your whole professional career, what would you like to be known for?
Oh,
like,
geez.
what do you want as your legacy?
Oh my gosh. That's a good question. I don't feel like I've left a legacy yet. I mean, I'm really proud of the work that I've been doing in the co-op, just from a community perspective, because I feel like that's affecting so many people. It's more than just like my dumb creative work. I really like Pass the Buck because it's, you know, my dumb creative work. It doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah.
Self-deprecation. Yeah, I really like Pass the Buck a lot because it's, you know, it's the catharsis that I need, and I think it gives a lot of people that sense of just like, okay, I'm not the only one who goes through this, and we can make fun of this together, sort of thing. And I'm really excited about what Smugglecraft is going to be, because again, like, it has kind of, it's fun and it's goofy in ways, but it also has some heavier undertones that kind of talk a little bit about, you know, some of the really messed up stuff that goes on, you know, in culture and society. So, yeah, I think that'll be really good. And I think there's a lot left in me that I'd like to leave behind, you know, as just kind of like a series of creativity that, you know, leaves its own trail instead of having to pick one specific thing. I mean, Cosmic Kitty Pop was a lot of fun, but I don't think I want people to, like, put on my gravestone, like, she made cats explode in space.
So it sounds like what you're saying is you're proud of what you've done, but you hope to do even better in the future.
Yeah, totally.
Sure. Great.
Okay.
Long story short, yes, that.
With that, we're gonna move into our second game show.
Oh,
for
God.
our special host. Yeah, another chance to win another game. This game is a little different than the last one. Since you're a game developer, you probably know what games are real, what games are fake. So we're gonna give you a quiz where you have to pick out which game is real.
Is this like Pokemon versus prescription? Is it a Pokemon or is it a prescription drug?
No, that's a great idea that I'm gonna note down right now.
It's
no.
a thing. I'm pretty sure it's an actual game online.
Googling that immediately.
We just read you a game description, and after all three of them are read, you say, I think this one is real, or that one is real. So
there's only one real game, by the way.
There's only one real game.
So two are fake. One is...
Yeah, pick the real game.
All right, dang. All right.
And
Correct.
Consider the two others that aren't real as a pitch.
Okay. I like it.
And we'll happily work with you to make them.
To make it happen. That's the kind of thing I have time for sure. Pitch.
John, you want to go first?
Oh, pitch. Wait, that's a good segue, actually. I was looking for some baseball games the other day and came across one that was called Age of Umpire. This game that was spun off on some discussion from RBI, Baseball 24, the remake. So it's a career mode for an MLB referee. It's 2D black and white graphics. So basically, you see behind the plate, between the games, you're going to have some text sequence or text-based dialogues, such as throwing a coach out of the game, or, you know, performance review with supervisors, keeping morale of the two teams so the coach doesn't come and yell at you. It's kind of an RPG elements, improve your stats, various fields, so you can increase your strike zone hitbox or make it more precise. So it's Age of Empire. Try it out. It's free on itch.io.
Cool.
The game that I found, I was actually looking for some games on Android that kind of mimic Solitaire, like I used to play on Windows all the time. But phones used to have games on them already, but now you have to download everything. So I was looking for a Solitaire-inspired game, and I really liked Spider Solitaire. That one was my favorite. Mm-hmm. And so I actually came across one, Spider Free Cell. So pretty cool. So it sorts the cards in order from the ace to the king of each suit. But the cards are hidden and you're playing with two different packs. So then you have more space and most of the cards are not really visible for you to kind of see. So it's kind of fun. It's a little different. What I thought was really unique about it though, so it kind of mimics Spider Solitaire, in its presentation, but what really kind of adds to the spider effect is that the game at the bottom of it, it has spiders that constantly crawl up the screen, and they will continue to crawl and fill the screen unless you clear the entire screen. So if you're not fast enough in clearing all your cards, then you're going to be full of spiders.
Then you have to burn your computer.
Then you have to burn your phone. Exactly.
Oh, your phone. Sorry.
So it is Spider Free Cell. So it's pretty fun. It's on Android. Might be
Right.
probably on iOS too. So
Oh my goodness, that leaves my game, which is Angry Bunnies. Do you like animal-themed puzzle games, but are tired of angered avians? Perhaps you like carbon copy games starting Choleric Caniculi on the Nintendo eShop. If so, then Angry Bunnies is the game for you. This game is just like Angry Birds, but stars bunnies. Why play with a generically named Red Bird when you can play as Chubby Bunny? Available now.
Oh my god, I have to pick which one is real.
Which game is real?
Oh,
Yep.
they all sound so good. Oh no. I'm gonna say Age of Umpires. Is a thing.
No.
No?
I wish
It's
it
a
was.
fake game.
Doesn't it sound so good?
It sounds like really boring, but like the kind of thing that people would be really into. And like the fact that he said it's free on itch.io, I'm like, yeah, I bet it is.
No, actually, Angry Bunnies
Angry
is the real
Bunnies.
game.
Oh man. Oh.
It's only on the 3DS eShop.
That's a real bummer. See,
It's
that's
just like Angry Birds.
I gotta say, I'm so impressed with the kinds of games Nintendo is putting on their eShop. They really seem to respect both the players and the developers a whole lot.
I don't hear any sincerity in your voice.
It's like Angry Birds, but for $6 instead of like free to play
Well,
or
and
something.
you can buy Angry Birds for 3DS.
Can you really?
That's the thing. If you really want to,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think so.
Wow.
as a cart. If you really want to, you
As a
can.
cart, as an actual cartridge that you put into the
For like
yeah,
$36?
Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh.
I don't know.
It's kind of like when you go to an arcade and how you like the arcade games nowadays are like Cut the Rope and Fruit Ninja, and they're just giant touchscreens. It's like, well, I've been playing this on my cell phone for 5 years.
Yeah. That's
Okay, tell me your
Word.
daughter didn't love that. She loved it.
She did, but I hated it because I want her to have like fun arcade experiences,
Yeah.
not to just play Cut the Rope on a big screen.
Forget it, Chris. You're an old man.
You'd rather her play Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Is that what you're saying?
Or Hydro Thunder.
Or Hydro
Or
Thunder?
TNT, Turtles in Time.
Or Turtles in Time.
Or Super Off-Road?
Mm-hmm. Insert arcade game here.
What's that one where you play like you're like in a video studio? You're like a television studio employee or
Smash
something?
TV.
Yes. So good.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. They have that at Barcade in Brooklyn, and I was so confused when I was watching it. I
It's
was
so
also-
fun, though.
I'd buy that for $1.
It looked fun. I'd never even heard of it before that, but like everybody
Yeah.
was real into it. And I was
For
like,
sure.
this is so bizarre. So cool. The kind of stuff that they used to put on arcades.
Right.
Not to put any pressure on you, Carol,
no.
but we actually have a bonus game for you.
I can win a
Dun,
second.
dun.
Yeah, you can still win a second game. We're going back on the on Pass the Buck a little, and we're gonna climb the corporate ladder.
Oh, cool.
So I'm gonna ask you riddles about companies in video games,
Oh, I'm
not
gonna be
companies
terrible at
in
this.
the field of video games, but companies in actual video games. So, and you'll see that I think my questions are a bit around the Pass the Buck theme.
Okay. I'm not gonna make a fool of myself, basically, because I don't...
That's the point.
Alright, cool.
Yeah.
What do you think we've been doing for the last hour?
Oh, that! Okay,
So-
cool. I could keep doing that.
All right. So, question 1: To make it to the top, Wesker faked his own death, while others continued working. Of course, in this series, nothing really ever stays dead, thanks to this evil pharmaceutical pharmacy.
This is the Umbrella Corporation!
Yay!
That's the
Yes.
only... I was actually gonna say, I hope one of the answers is the Umbrella Corporation, because that's the only one that I will know.
Question number 2. Energy company employees tend to be power-hungry, pardon the pun. However, the new president of this corporation, Rufus, only had to wait for his father to die at the hands of the man with a black cape, searching for his mother.
Is this from Final Fantasy VII?
It is.
I still haven't played Final Fantasy VII, so I don't know the answer
Okay,
to this.
neither of these two guys, and nobody guessed that one, so you're not the only one.
I recognize Rufus.
She should get some credit because I just put question marks as my answer.
She recognized Rufus.
Yeah, I recognize. I had roommates who played a lot of Final Fantasy VII, but I never played it.
Okay, so the company is Shinra.
Shinra. I would.
The company that extracts Mako. Question number 3. Sometimes in big companies, you just feel always under the gun, jumping through hoops and bland corridors, completing repetitive tasks alone in your cube, while your overseers laugh at you. If you're lucky, there might be cake at the end of the day. That's exactly how Shell felt when she worked for this research company.
Aperture Science. We do what we must because we can for the good of all of us.
Isn't that the catchiest song?
Yes. So good. Yeah. Aperture Science Laboratories.
Yep. Congrats.
So you're not
So
even
you
going to
will
ask
get
me
your
about
second game.
Abstergo?
What?
Isn't that the one from Assassin's Creed? Isn't it Abstergo?
I think it is.
There's only 3 questions.
Yeah, there's only 3 questions.
Do I get bonus points for knowing that one?
Who created the scope in Pokemon?
Oh no. What have you done to me?
I
Oh no. How do I not know this? Oh no.
That was the question that was cut, Chris.
know.
That's a really good
Wait,
question though. And
is
like
it?
that I
Yeah.
would know more likely than the Final Fantasy VII one because I played so much Pokemon. But I can't think of it.
Is it Slif? Slif?
Sylph.
Sylph?
Sylph.
Sylph.
Sylph Scope.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sylph.
With that, we are going to have to move into block 4, which is our farewell block.
Oh.
Normally, I've got some kind of funny quip or question, but I can't think of it this week. So if you guys, starting with Carol, just want to give a shout out to anything.
Anything?
Shout out to shout out to where we can find you on the internet, and if you want to shout out one of your friends who may be listening, not watching, that'd be a little weird.
Huh. Well.
So, yeah, just
do
you have any shout outs,
I
Carol?
live on the internet. I'm on Twitter at Carol Mertz. The studio is at Happy Badgers. We're also at happybadgers.com. If you want to follow development on Smugglecraft, that's also smugglecraft.com. There's a lot of websites and internet things. Again, I would say check out Butterscotch Shenanigans. Crashlands is going to be coming out by the end of the year, they're saying, and it just looks phenomenal. I would definitely take a look. Gosh, I mean, there's so much cool stuff going on, but also keep your eyes out for Pass the Buck. The print and play is available on itch.io right now, and there's going to be pre-orders up soon because you missed the Kickstarter, but that'll be shipping sometime next year. Yeah. Beyond that, I'm yeah,
John?
that's it.
What? Shoutouts?
Yeah, shoutouts. We're bringing back the shoutouts.
I don't have much apart from thanking Carol for being here with us.
Thank you.
And you can check all the stuff about our projects, but you can also check out one entry that I actually love, which is part of our talk at Indiecade, I think, which was called Independent Doesn't Have to Mean Alone, on our personal website at carolmertz.com. And I really like that talk, to be honest.
Oh,
It's
thank you so much.
Chris?
I saw that recently, or maybe soon, there's an article about how you can get Nuka-Cola at Target, which was kind of cool.
What?
Yeah, so keep an eye out. Target will have Nuka-Cola and maybe Radaway eventually, so keep an eye out for that. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris A. Swartz, and I am kind of annoying to follow, but whatever. So, but yeah, thanks for joining us, Carol. This has been a blast.
Yeah, thank you guys for inviting me. It's been a lot of fun.
I get a shout out too.
Oh,
Yeah. Go ahead, Alex.
What do you...
I just want to say I'm at BigJonathan91 on Twitter, by the way. Just so people can follow me and hope I don't tweet in French too much.
I am gonna shout out myself. You can follow me on Twitter if you already don't, to our 2 or 3 fans out there at ChronoSlinger. And I want to give a serious little shout out to Classic Game Room. Yesterday I saw that they are shutting down one of their video series and seriously cutting back. They're one of the original video review sites on the internet, and the founder just posted the forum post saying that he's going to basically turn into a hobby and everything's being scaled back. And if you haven't ever looked at Classic Game Room, I'd recommend looking at it on YouTube. It's one of the most unique series of video game reviews I've ever seen. I mean, it's not like revolutionary. It's just a guy who loves video games and is happy about them and is really weird in some points. With that, you can always email us rocketpantspodcast@gmail.com. We've got 2 listener emails in the queue, which we will get to at least one of them next episode. And you can visit our website where we post every episode and the occasional top 100 game list, rocket-pants.com. And follow us on Twitter @RocketPantsCast. And with that, this is Team Rocket Pants blasting off.
Since the splitting of the atom only a few decades ago, and through his God-given genius of science, man, at last, has succeeded in penetrating further and further into the unknown vastness of space.
Just so happens I have my ukulele.